Hey everybody, it's Mike with the Claim Squad Public Adjusters. Today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of a public adjuster, and we're actually going to be reviewing a video. An insurance agent, Shine Insurance, made a video on his findings, what he thinks. I'm not sure why an insurance agent made a video on pros and cons of a public adjuster. Maybe he was a public adjuster before, it doesn't sound like it. But it would be similar, analogy would be a family doctor who you go to when your toe's infected or when you have high blood pressure, you're sick. It would be like a family doctor giving you the pros and cons of a cardiovascular surgeon before open heart surgery, or the pros and cons of an oncologist when you have cancer. It doesn't really make too much sense, but we're going to get into it. I'll comment a little bit in between. I'm going to try and do this as fast as possible, so let's get right into it. What this guy has to say. I'll increase the volume, and let's kind of go
cons public adjuster, and we'll finally go into what is the right time. When is the right time to hire a public adjuster? I'll give you some insights about that, and then as always, we'll dig into some rookie mistakes at the very end of the video. All right, let's get right to it. So first, we have to understand what adjusters are. We're saying what role does this company adjuster is the person, because public adjuster. So this required in the claim prop, and then whatever's left. The cons are that 15% of the claim loss, like I talked about, and it can very much clog up the process. So let's talk about each of those. First, a pro. You have representation. A public professional, you're not a professional. The loss was, all those kinds of things. There is no doubt that there is some work in the claims. Less work. What are the cons? Well, the huge one to me, the biggest one to me, is the 15% of the claim is lost. This is the biggest issue with hiring a public adjuster, is you just hand this money over to them. And this is the big problem with it, especially with property claims. Insurance policies are made to replace what you lost and no more. They also shouldn't replace less, depending on how the policy is set up, but they're there to replace what you lost, right? So even the best public adjuster is only going to be able to get the policy to replace what you lost. But now you have to replace it. And if they take 15% of that payout, you now have 15% less to replace what you lost. And especially when it comes to a building, if you insured for the total value of replacing that building, and then 15% of that is gone, now you can't replace that building anymore. And
okay, what he said is a lot, and let's start with the back end, where he said, and I'll get into the whole fee. If a building's insured for total value, and I guess he means if a hurricane, fire, or something destroyed it, and that public adjuster takes 15%, and you can't rebuild, that's a major problem. I think the major problem's on you, Mr. Agent, because you underinsured that building then. You underinsured that building. And so if a public adjuster's representing somebody that just lost their building, there's another big problem there. The problem is the insurance company is giving them a hard time, didn't pay, denied it, or didn't pay them enough. That's that. 15%. So this individual obviously doesn't know. It varies from state to state. In Florida, public adjusters for hurricanes can only charge 10%, up to 20% for everything else. Now, what he didn't say is, he's saying that whatever it costs to replace or rebuild everything, money's taken off that. But that's not actually how it all works. There are several line items that are added in, what we call content manipulation. All right, there's things like where this wall might be damaged and the insurance company does include the other wall, so we include it. There's other things like baseboards, painting, what type of painting, ceilings, all right, all kinds of different things. I don't have clients that it costs $20,000 to have everything repaired, then my fee comes into play and the rest comes out of their pocket. Never works that way. If it costs them $20,000 to repair everything, I'm getting them $30,000, $35,000, $40,000. How? I won't get into all the details, but there's a way that a good public adjuster does it. It's You have to know what to negotiate, how to negotiate certain walls, how to negotiate back of walls, how to negotiate floors. All right? All this comes into play, which he's leaving out. And at the end of the day, you, the homeowner, have the final decision to accept everything. You can do the math. You can figure out if the insurance company made a $10,000 offer, okay, and it costs you $8,000 to repair, and our fee's 20%, do you make out? No. So you know what? You tell the public adjuster, go back and get a couple more thousand to handle and cover your fee. And they should. And if they can't, and the insurance company doesn't want to pay, there's other things that we can do along the way. So it just isn't as black and white. If I had any clients that were losing money after my fee, number one, I would never recommend that they accept it. And number two, I'd have bad reviews about how I'm telling people to accept less money than what's going to cost them to repair. There's a reason why in Florida so many people hire public adjusters, because they do well. They get everything replaced. A good public adjuster like me is going to be able to get your deductible waived, get our fees included, and then you're going to be left with money even after you get repairs done. All right? So this guy, insurance agent, doesn't really know exactly what he's talking about, but let's continue. This is good.
So that's where the big con comes, and the big problem with public adjuster is involved is that it clogs up the process. I want you to think about a scenario that you've gone into where you were sitting.
This really doesn't make any sense. I have no idea what it's saying.
Talking with some people, and then someone in that room brought a lawyer and said, hey, I have a lawyer here with me.
What meeting are you bringing a lawyer to? Are you talking about a dinner with friends? Are you talking about a business meeting? You just can't bring a lawyer in. I have no idea what he's talking about. You bring a lawyer to an otherwise friendly meeting. Who has a friendly meeting and says, oh, my lawyer's here, unless it's a lawyer friend? So I have no idea what he's talking about.
What happened in that situation? How did the conversation change? How did it become less open, right? The vibe completely changes. Now, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with lawyers. It just means that when you bring representation into the room, the vibe changes, the experience changes, and everyone involved comes at it through a different lens. It's just the reality of how things work. A public adjuster is going to have this same effect on a claim experience.
So his big point is somehow we clog up the process. But ironically, there are laws in Florida that were made not because of public adjusters, Mr. Insurance Agent. They're made because insurance companies delay paying claims, or they won't address claims, or they don't do it in a timely manner. So here's our law. Our law in Florida, insurance companies have 90 days to make a payment or deny the claim. If you don't, you have the ability to enforce that law to some degree by taking certain steps to then potentially alert them that we will then file a bad faith lawsuit. We do not clog the process. We do not have the checkbook. The insurance company writes the check. Let me give you another example. Here's my active lawsuit file right there. There's about 50. These cases are average of 6 months old. The insurance company can call us up anytime and say, hey, what do you guys want to settle the claim? Can we negotiate something? But they don't. How are we clogging up the process? But see, obviously I'm not going to be too hard. He doesn't exactly know. He wants to know. He wants to sound intelligent, like he knows the process, but he doesn't. I guarantee he doesn't know anything about litigation. I wonder if he made this video because of the fact that we are suing agents more and more, because they're putting water damage limit and exclusions on people's policies and not telling them. Remember, they get paid by the insurance company. That's what puts food on their table. 6% of a policy, 8%, 10% of a policy they get in royalties or bonuses or fees, however you want to put it. So he's okay. He's not okay with us getting fees, but he's okay with getting fees from your policy. This is great. I love it. And then I'm going to go through and review my own pros and cons.
So what does that look like? Well, first, You have an independent agent. That agent is there to help you through claims processes. So you had someone who was free. As soon as a public adjuster is
Okay, is he saying he's going to handle a claim for you? Because all the agents, people don't even call agents anymore because they're not helpful. Does anybody know their agent anymore? I call around. I've got to get a new policy starting in March. I've got to call around to different agents. I don't want to know them because I know how this business is. All I want them to do is get me an insurance policy with no water damage limit, no exclusion, not be citizens, and not be people's trust. So an agent doesn't help you through the claim process. An agent works for the insurance company. Goodness gracious. What the heck is this guy saying? This blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Involved, they will no longer be able to help you anymore. So that person, you lose the direct communication route, and you're completely trusting your public adjuster to be able to communicate to that person in the way that benefits you best. If they are not doing that, if they can't do that, not only they take that 15%, but now the company adjuster is not happy with you, is not going to be doing the things that
the adjuster's not happy with you. Well, the adjuster's denying people's claims. Half of my clients are denied claims. The other are 50% denied and underpaid claims. The other 50% are new clients that I either got referrals from or don't want to deal with the insurance company because they know and they've heard how bad they will get screwed.
Probably would have been able to do had you been directly communicating, so that becomes a problem. And what was paying out a claim that you have seen it not be that way, except everything takes. It increases the time for every step of the process. And so what I've seen over time is that
So he's saying here that a public adjuster increases the time it takes for your claim by 30 to 40%. All right. So remember I just talked about the state law in Florida to where the Florida statute says an insurance company has 90 days to make a payment, deny the claim. Well, these are lawsuits, as I showed you. All these lawsuits. These are lawsuits to where they're average 6 months old. So an insurance company is now 200%. Think about it. 90 days, now we're at, after the 90 days, 180 days, and they haven't settled the case. So it increases the time. The insurance company, on average, 200 to 300%, they take longer to settle a claim for 3 reasons. They want to deny it, delay payment, and defend it. The longer they defend something, it delays the payment. That's good for them. Money in the bank, keep the money, keep the interest. So if they're saying we clog up the process by 30, 40%, I'd love to hear his answer on what happens with these insurance companies that refuse to pay and will clog up the process for 200 to 300% times longer.
Public adjuster oftentimes makes the process last 30, won't follow through with what they should be, with what you feel they should have, and you feel you have no other options but to bring someone with adjuster approach you saying that this is something you need. Anyway, if there's any scenario that I have seen,
he's like, basically the only time to bring in a public adjuster is when you feel the claim is going to be complicated, and then here he's saying to distrust the company. Listen, you go in with an insurance company, there's really every reason to distrust the company.
Mistakes. Well, I think I've kind of led to all of those at this point. The biggest one is hiring a public adjuster with no real clear reason to do so.
Okay, so no clear reason. As I just mentioned, 50% of my clients are people that have their claims denied, legitimate claims, or have been dramatically underpaid. That's 50%. The other 50% are new that don't want to deal with the insurance company, have to deal with a recorded statement, have to deal with the frustration of dealing with them. So I think that's 3 pretty damn good reasons why you should hire a public adjuster.
If you just hire a public adjuster because you have some property damage and you think you should, that is going to be a mistake 9 out of 10 times, and not something I would suggest doing. That is a rookie mistake. Hiring a public adjuster without multiple positive referrals from reputable sources. Look, got to make sure that if you are going to your door or something like that, scam. And generally speaking, it is absolutely not true. The only example would be if the insurance company...
Okay, so the last few things, he's like, if a public adjuster tells you there's going to be some big, huge payout, listen. If you have one wall damage, you're not getting a huge payout. If your house is burnt down, I would hope you get a big payout. So it's all in correlation to what your damages are. And if you have a public adjuster that is unable, that you think is more of a used car salesman run, they shouldn't put any pressure on you. All right, so let's see where we're at in the rest of this video. I don't think there's too much more.
He was truly trying to do you wrong, and they weren't going to pay you out at all, and the public adjuster got them to do so. That is a person hired by...
All right, so let me go through my public adjuster pros and cons, and let me start with cons. Listen, I'm like extremely... I want to be always open and clear, transparent, and try to give you what I believe is the best possible understanding and identification of public adjusters. And I just want to be always transparent, open, honest about things. So here are a couple of cons. A couple of cons are as follows. What has your public adjuster done prior to being a public adjuster? A lot of public adjusters were contractors. Some are firemen, which I'm not downplaying what they've done, what they've career-wise prior to being a public adjuster, but I worked for an insurance company before, worked for a law firm. I was an expert witness for attorneys who would call me and hire me to put together certain reports or testify. So I've been in these positions in the industry, insurance industry, prior to becoming a public adjuster, independent adjuster as well. So what did your adjuster do before, your public adjuster? The con is there's a lot of guys you really don't know. Another downside to some public adjusters, they may work for a large firm. Not that that's bad, but you got multiple adjusters, 5, 10, 15, 20 public adjusters in a public adjuster firm or company. You don't know who you're going to get. You don't know what their communication is going to be like with you. And the other thing is that these people need to feed their family and have bills to pay and everything else. The problem with that is, are they rushing you into a settlement that maybe you shouldn't accept? All right, that's a con. Another thing is some people are not well versed in policy. Are they going to be able to work around a policy to get your claim covered when an insurance company is saying maybe there's no coverage? Do they have a good relationship with an attorney that can help with their claim, either during the part of the claim or when it goes into a lawsuit? These are some things that you have to take in consideration. All right, how many years have they been in the insurance industry is extremely important. And here's another con, which is extremely important: the communication level with the clients. I try to be very open, direct, always in communication, whether it be email, phone calls, text. You can always reach me anytime. There's never any problems with that. There's a 95% chance I'm going to get back to you that day unless there's something extremely wrong that happened. All right. And that 5% chance, I'll get back to you the next day. Or at least I'll tell you the reason why I can't get to you. So obviously I'll take off a vacation here and there, but I try to let my clients know in a group email, hey, I'm going to be gone. So let's look at some of the pros. Some of the pros are you're going to get somebody who's on your side, who's going to fight for your claim, who, if the insurance company asks for a recorded statement, will try to put it off. When it comes to the inspection of your property, will tell you not to be there. All right. You're going to get somebody, if you hire a good public adjuster, going to work around the policy language to get your claim covered. You're going to have a public adjuster that's going to get you more money. You're not going to have to worry about your public adjuster fee. That's the last thing you should worry about. A good public adjuster will get everything that needs to be repaired, your deductible waived or included in a settlement, the public adjuster's fee taken care of, and you should be fine afterwards. Nothing comes out of your pocket, and probably a few dollars left that you could do whatever you want with. All right. Some of the other pros of a public adjuster: he should have a good working relationship with a firm or a couple different firms. So this way he can diversify and go with the best attorneys that are treating you and would treat you the best in a possible lawsuit if that happens. The other thing, your public adjuster should be strategic. He should be able to know what damages argue, how to argue those damages, and when to argue the damages, because more than likely the desk adjuster, the person who he is trying to get the claim paid, was never at your property. So there's these pros. There's a few other pros that come into mind, and more than likely, if you're dealing with somebody who has extensive experience in the insurance claim industry, from both sides, you're going to get a better view of things. You want another pro. You want a lot of communication with regards to updates, where your claim is at. So this gentleman had a very generalized, uninformed overview of a public adjuster. I can go through some more pros and cons, but that's pretty much a good overview from my point of view, being a licensed Florida public adjuster. If you have any questions on a public adjuster, what else to look for in a public adjuster, I always believe calling people and talking with them and get a feel out on what they tell you, how eager they are to help you, what they can do for you, what they have in mind. And 4 goals that I always have for my clients, I already mentioned: make sure everything gets paid for, deductible waived or included in a settlement, the public adjuster fees get covered, and at the end of the day, number 4, most importantly, nothing comes out of your pocket. And after everything's paid, fees, repairs, you're probably left with a little bit more. So those are my pros and cons. Just a very summary. Didn't write anything down from the top of my head because I'm very familiar with this space and deal with a lot of people. So hopefully, if you have any questions on a claim, looking for a good public adjuster, or even what qualifications to look for in a good public adjuster, feel free, give me a call. My name's Mike with the Claim Squad Public Adjusters, and you can reach all my information on the YouTube video in the description below. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.